Good morning, everyone. Thanks for coming. Normally when I see you guys on these occasions, it's at the wake of a manager or the christening of a new one. But this is slightly different. I find myself a little bit confused this morning, and I think I want to use this press conference to clarify a few things. 6.5 years ago, when I bought Palace, I bought it in a manner which basically was using someone else to buy the club for me in order for me to get what I felt was the best deal, because there were various protagonists involved in the mix that I felt would possibly exploit the opportunity for me to buy the club in the manner which was best for the club we bought him. Now, over the last 6.5 years, the club has changed dramatically. You know, we've had some success, we've had a lot of rebuilding to do, and we've done a lot of good things. We've been in the Premiership earlier than we said we would be. Unfortunately, we didn't stay there, but also we've put ourselves in probably our most financially credible position. We've sold players for enormous amounts of money. We've developed a wonderful academy, bringing a lot of young players through. We've bought an American soccer team, an American soccer academy to feed our UK operation. And one of the things that has been on my mind for 6.5 years is the freehold of Selhurst Park. And recently, I've been hearing various rumours and was led to believe that various stories were going to be written about the fact that Selhurst Park had been sold, and that Crystal Palace had been offered by Ron Noades the opportunity to buy Selhurst Park and have shown no interest whatsoever. So, the facts of the matter are that Crystal Palace have had very little dialogue with Ron Noades, and there is a reason for that. And the facts of the matter are that Selhurst Park has been sold, and it's been sold to me. I bought Selhurst Park through a structure that was set up over the last 2 weeks. I'm not so sure if Ron is aware of who he sold it to, but he sold it to me. But that's not a surprise, given the fact that he wasn't aware he was buying the club 6.5 years ago. So it's not a surprise that he doesn't know who's bought the freehold. As far as I'm concerned, it's a reaffirmation of what I said I would do 6.5 years ago. It's a significant development for the club in terms of it's been a big concern for the supporters and a big concern for everybody else besides me in terms of the ownership of the freehold. I now have this ownership, and I'm looking forward to enhancing the football club by owning the freeholds. I'm looking forward to working with a very progressive council who've been very good with us as a tenant, and I expect them to be very good with us as a freehold, as the freeholder. And it really is a case of, I said this is what I would do. I've done it when I wanted to do it, how I've wanted to do it. I've done it in a manner which, albeit through a structure that necessarily doesn't initially lend itself in terms of Ron's eyes to being me, but ultimately is, because my ambitions and my devotion and my interest level is solely with the betterment of Crystal Palace Football Club, and that makes it my Achilles heel in negotiations. And I wasn't prepared to be exploited on that basis, and an opportunity for the price to become prohibitive. I've paid the right price for this freehold, and now this gives this football club an opportunity to do exactly what the plans I had for it to do over the last 6 years, and puts everything into place like I said I would do. That's the announcement I wanted to make today, and I wanted to clear up the nonsense and the rumours, and obviously inform Ron who's bought his freehold.
How much were you willing to say how much you bought it for?
12 million.
And how much was he asking you for beforehand?
It's been, the reality of it is, it's been a very difficult relationship over the last 6.5 years, and I'm not saying that the difficulties have been all one-sided. You know, both myself and Ron, can be difficult to deal with, and both of us can be vitriolic and sometimes contemptuous. I'm not going to be in this instance. I'll leave it to Ron. He's better equipped at that. But over the years, it's been a discussion point, swinging back and forward from he'll never sell it to me till he'll sell it to me for this or for that, or not sell it to me, period. The reality of it is the freehold is now mine.
Are you now planning to renovate?
My primary focus at this moment in time has to be to get the team back in the Premiership. Now that I've got the freehold, great. Yes, of course. We're not going to sit here on our hands, as we have not done in any other walk of the club, be it from the academy, be it from acquiring players or acquiring managers and letting managers go or getting promoted to the Premiership or whatever else. But the reality of it is that the main focus now is I've done my bit. I've done what I said I would do. You know, I've bought the freehold, I've pumped money into the football club, I've stood here against a backdrop of ITV Digital collapsing and everybody else falling by the waysides. I've put a club in the Premiership a year ahead of schedule. We should have stayed there. And I've fought every single battle I've had to fight, not for my betterment, but for the betterment of the club. So the main focus now is come on, boys, on the football side, let's get us back into the Premiership. So that helps me to continue with my development on the other side of the coin.
Can you explain just exactly how it works that Ron Noades will know that you're buying it, just the structure of it? Because presumably he wants to check to make sure that the bid is genuine and he wants to know where the money's come from.
Well, he's satisfied on that front.
At which stage did he find out that it was you that was behind it?
A couple of minutes ago, I suspect he was at home with his feet up and smoking a pipe.
So how did when I asked just how the process would have gone through dealing with that amount of money that presumably his people or he personally would have wanted to have made background checks?
Very similar to how I bought the club in the first place. The reality of it is that nobody knew that I was buying the club when Jerry Lim stood up 6.5 years ago, and I purported to have the credibility and the means to be able to buy the club, and ultimately it was me. So the structure is very similar. I'm not going to go into the mechanics of the structure because it's quite complicated and quite convoluted, but be under no illusion that the reality of what I'm saying is the facts of the matter.
What do you think his reaction is going to be?
I should think he'd be thrilled that I've got it.
Would this be the be-all and end-all of it? Do you think once he finds out this, as you say, the relationship has been quite contentious over the years, do you think is he in a position to come back and say, well, things weren't above board, I didn't know who was behind?
No, I shouldn't think so.
Do you think Ron was holding the club back by holding on Selhurst Park?
I think Ron Noades did a fantastic job at this football club. I think he did a fantastic job for the football club, and I think he did a fantastic job for himself as a businessman. A lot of people will criticise him for that, but with due respect, you know, the club had its most successful period under Ron, you know, and I can't dispute that. You know, I think that we've made tremendous leaps and bounds as a football club, and are not far away from you know, being and achieving and emulating what's been achieved before. But I don't know if holding back is the right terminology. He has the right as the freeholder to sell to who he wants to. I think he and I could have had a better relationship. That you know, we've got to look at one another for that. But the reality of it is that I don't need to have a relationship with Ron anymore.
Were there other bids, do you know?
Apparently.
Of a similar sort of figure?
I would have thought not, otherwise Ron would have gone with him.
You said in February that you'd like to leave like to leave a nice legacy. Now you've got freehold, you could do that. But do you want to see this through now?
I've always said, listen, you know, that there was every person has an amount of time when they're effective in their jobs. You know, football managers have a certain amount of time. Nigel Worthington, with due respect to the job he did at Norwich, did a fantastic job for many years, and all of a sudden, you know, he can't do the job anymore because for one reason or another he's lost his focus. And I think, or the club's going a different direction, or the players are not responding. And I think the same can be said of ownership of any business. There are times when, you know, fresh ideas, fresh outlooks are beneficial to the club. Now, from my point of view, I also don't want to be 50 years of age owning a football club. Now, I realise I've got a long way to go to being 50, but I don't want to be around any longer than I have to be. You know, I want to put the club where I said I'd put it, which is amongst the elite, make it stay there rather than come back down again, make it sure that it has the facilities which are conducive with a top-flight club, leave it with a financial platform where it does not need one individual. Because when a football club is owned by one individual, whilst it's great to have a benefactor, it does make it precarious. It does make it to the whims and fancies of that particular individual. Fortunately, in this case, my whims and fancies have been consistent with the fact that I want success. But ideally and realistically, everything I've said I would do, I've done. I've said I would make this club successful. I've said I would rebuild it. I've said I would give it credibility. I've said that we'd invest in our players. I've said that we'd keep players. I've said we'd get in the Premiership. I've said that we'd buy the freehold. And I'm saying that when I leave the club, it will be in a position that it doesn't need another Simon Jordan. It needs a good board of directors that can maximise the revenue streams like big football clubs do to push itself forward.
£12 million is a lot of money. Does that mean that there's not going to be money available elsewhere in the club if there's team buildings?
No, two things are not inextricably indexed. You know, the reality of it is that, you know, this is an investment into the future of the football club, as are players. You know, my investment into players is there for you to see. You know, you've seen it this summer, you saw it last summer. Yes, we were fortunate enough to dispose of some players this summer for very substantial amounts of money, but be under no illusion that the wage bill of this football club is quite heavy, and probably one of the heaviest in the divisions. So when people see headline transfers, they don't necessarily understand that millions and millions and millions of pounds are going out on player wages in order for us to be where we want to be, which is at the top of the division.